Hi everyone, good morning. Well, welcome to today's session. I have with me three great people from the Web3 space, and we're talking about the opportunities of NFT, and our focus is going to be in Africa. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. The session is going to be brief, but we're going to be touching key points about how NFTs is going to affect our finances, how we can leverage on NFTs for business, and how it's also going to help with Africa, how it's going to help us grow. So without much ado, we're going to be starting off with Mutembei, and I'd like to know from you, what do you think sets NFTs apart from other forms of digital assets, and why do you think they hold such a great potential for Africa?
Thanks for that question, and it's an honor to be here. With a few people this year who are interested in NFTs. I think last year was a peak year for NFTs, so probably rooms were much fuller last year. So, as you say, my name is Mutembei, Kariuki, co-founder and CEO of a startup called Fastagger. We're actually one of the fast Web3 startups to do investment from the crypto valley. That's in Switzerland, where the likes of Ethereum, Solana, all of them have foundations. And so Fast is a bit of demystifying of what NFTs actually are, right? So I think it's a form of digital asset that allows you to have a certificate of digital ownership on the internet. So it's not what everybody keeps on saying, it's just a JPEG, right? It's actually a programmable digital asset that proves that you own something in the digital space. And I think that is extremely important, and it distinguishes it from the other digital assets, because for a long time, everybody would talk about digital assets as talking about something in the finance space, right? About the Bitcoin, the tokens, right? But now for the first time, the Web3 space allows you to actually own assets, and NFTs are actually programmable digital assets that actually allow you to authenticate and show that and prove that you have ownership of a certain asset, a real or a tokenized asset. And I think that creates a huge opportunity for ownership of assets, whether it's they're tokenized assets, or it's artworks, or it's digital IDs. A lot of use cases have come out recently about ticketing, because one of the things that blockchain really solves is things to do with fraud and trust. Right? If you go to any music concert, a lot of those tickets are probably, fraudulently got, and someone just went and created more. But now a lot of concerts, Gary V has been using that for his different events. Where now you can actually have an NFT on the blockchain, a ticket where it cannot be forged. You can actually be able to really take in the royalties for that particular event. So that's important.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think NFTs is one very big part of the Web3 space that I would say up until date we are yet to fully utilize the use cases of NFTs. I don't know if you are aware of Bitland, a project in Ghana where people can be able to get landed properties, and they can keep the certificate, the papers, they can mint it in form of NFTs. And let's bring it down to Africa, our own way. Usually hear the cases of landed properties where you get a property and someone comes from nowhere to say, oh, it's theirs, and you're able to authenticate the whole land issues, and it becomes a big problem. So I think NFT is a very big technology, a great innovation that has been able to help us, in the sense that you could just be in Nigeria and you own a property in Ghana or here in Nairobi, and instead of having the papers, which at the end of the day can also be forged and whatnot, you can easily just mint them in form of NFT, and it proves ownership. That singular form of identity and authentication is there. So bring it down to Douglas, since you're a very big person in the Web3 space, thanks to NGENI, I'd like to know from you what are the biggest challenges that you see in the adoption of NFTs in Africa, and how do you think they can be overcome?
Hey, hello.
Hi.
How are you, everyone? My name is Dauglous from NGENI Labs, to be specific. I'm the CTO of NGENI, acting CTO, but currently the CEO of NGENI and co-founder of NGENI. So it was really a pleasure to meet all of you here. Let's now discuss about NFTs. So NFTs, from their uniqueness, the way it's being implemented in the blockchain, the major challenges that are really making sure that this is not implemented in Africa, or the implementation is too slow. It's most of the times is lack of education amongst our members. More so, the government influences us a lot. So, and most of the times people will find that the government, they are of different age brackets than us at that time. So education really is key to that. And the other aspect of it is lack of regulations or well-calculated regulations from our government, that the governments that really want about the same. And the other thing, you as investors, you need to also again to be able to be so innovative enough, think of a problem and how to sort it out.
Okay, thank you very much. I think my very big take from that is education, because we all know how hard it is right now. Not everyone knows what NFT is actually about. When people think of NFT, what comes to their mind is always a picture that they can just put on the blockchain and they say, oh, I think there was a time that people were buying pictures of rocks. And so many people didn't really understand how that worked. But now it has gotten to the stage where NFT is actually beyond normal artwork. It has gone beyond just pictures. And people need to understand that they can actually do a whole lot more using this technology. So yes, education is actually a very, very, very big problem. Because now when we talk about the blockchain, we should actually stop just talking about crypto and think of all these other aspects of the blockchain which are very, very, very useful to everyone and in our everyday life. So down to Jessica, I saw like on your profile about your two music, I think two songs I'll be able to mint as NFTs. So I'd like to know from you, like, how do you see NFTs changing the African music industry, and what role do you think artists can play in shaping the future?
Well, I think there are very few artists, musicians per se, who have actually done minting of NFTs, and their fans really understand how to actually purchase NFTs and what it means to them. Yeah. But I'll give an example. And when we were coming here, Mutembei and I were just having a discussion about Rihanna. Did anyone watch her show this week? Show of hands? Yes. So Rihanna released a NFT for her fan base. Yeah. And I mean, people love Rihanna and they probably want to buy any product she puts out there, perfumes or anything. So this is a piece, this is a chance to actually have a piece of Rihanna's music. So if you actually bought Rihanna's NFT online, that's your asset or your digital token that you have ownership for life. So if Rihanna sells or other people sell the token or the asset, you actually earn from that for lifetime. So that's the value add it can bring, and this is shown globally from what international artists like Rihanna have done. Now we come down to the local scene and the local context, Kenya, for example. So based on the research, I'm the first person in tech and music to actually release two music NFTs. Wow. In Kenya and in East Africa. And I released the first one. It was called Momentum on Rarible.com. I had to do a bit of groundwork to actually educate my fan base and actually educate the community around me what a music NFT is, how to go about purchasing it, because not many people have what we call a wallet, right? Yeah. A wallet where you can actually have your crypto and actually buy assets online. So there's a process, there's an education process that has to kind of go in between, like releasing your NFT and then releasing it to your fan base and educating your fan base how to actually purchase it and become owners of that. So I think locally we have a lot of work to be done, but I believe musicians can actually make money out of creating music NFTs, and actually their fan base can actually earn revenue and have what you call exclusive events with the artist, like when the artist is performing at specific gigs, specific access to digital assets that they do create. So there's a lot of opportunity in the space. And that's why I play in between the intersection of tech and music and investment to actually create more awareness that the tech ecosystem needs to start collaborating more with the creative space.
Yes, true. I think, yes, that's what you just said is right, because we have a lot of creators out there who have a lot of things to do, and the thing is, they don't really have that exposure, a lot of them. We have a lot of hidden talents, like creatives in the space, but NFTs is actually a very great way because the NFT community is huge, is big. I think Trey Songz, I'm sure you know Trey Songz, is a musical artist who sold about 135,000 copies of his album in the first week of release as NFTs. Now, people know about Trey Songz, but people really didn't know about that song until like NFT, like within the NFT community, because it was in the NFT marketplace where he sold those albums. People got to know about it, and before we knew, the news like started spreading fast. Like, oh, Trey Songz was minting his album as an NFT, and those people were the only ones, like they are the only ones who actually have the album. So imagine how you feel knowing that, oh, I'm one of the 1% that has a whole album of Trey songs, and I was able to mint it as NFT. And you're also able to, I think you're able to get royalties from it or something, like for being able to to get it in case you decide to sell it off at the end of the day. So imagine making money from just a music that you bought for yourself that you say you want to listen to. So now back to Mutembei, like I would love to know from you, like in your own opinion, how can NFTs be leveraged to create new businesses and like new business opportunities and also drive economic growth in Africa?
Okay, thanks for that question. So I think a lot of people usually think that NFTs is a very new thing, but if you think about it, the internet, so Bunny Lee, that's about 1989. That's when like the World Wide Web pretty much started. But literally 3 years later, people were talking about how to have this baseball cards collectibles fashioned as digital assets, right? And so the NFTs are almost as old as the internet. But now, for a long time, it was static NFTs. Yeah. Now we have, the dynamic NFTs where you can actually take off-chain data and put it on-chain right through the NFTs. And I think this is where the biggest opportunities now lie. So if you look at, even global companies such as, Starbucks and how they're using dynamic NFTs for loyalty, this is now becomes an opportunity also for African businesses. Now, because one of the biggest challenges, I think, on the continent is trust. And for business, you need trust, right? Yeah. And a lot of times you have fraudulent transactions happening, you're trying to reward people go and make fake vouchers and come to your business and then they get free products. But now what you can actually do with NFTs is you can be able to properly reward and take in off-chain data about your particular customers and put them on an NFT on the blockchain which has the identity of that particular customer. And then anytime they interact with you, you're actually getting more data about that particular customer, and then you're creating more rewards for them, and so you have more loyal customers. You get to understand what it's all about. So you're bringing in consumer insight into the understanding of the business and also creating a lot of engagement. The other thing is right now with more of the dynamic NFTs, what you're now able to do is you're able to take that NFT and since the non-fungible token, you're able to wrap it, to wrap a token, a more fungible token around it, and you can be able to actually, right now you're finding a lot of use cases. And in Africa, one of the challenges is that, trying to create wealth, if you go and try to buy a piece of land here in Kenya, you're probably going to get into a lot of problems. Someone is going to be with a machete waiting for you when you go to actually plant something of that on that land. So the digital space is where now people can actually start owning, NFTs and probably even start lending them and putting them on DeFi platforms where you can actually earn from, lending someone an NFT that you've got, and they can use it. You can actually take off-chain information such as, on land, and you can actually put it on-chain and actually be able to trade. And so there are a lot of such use cases and platforms coming up. And I think if a lot of young Africans actually take to the digital space and start using these NFTs to create wealth for themselves, there's a lot of opportunities. But I really see a lot of these opportunities for SMEs as well, engaging with their customers, rewarding and creating new experiences for their customers. For musicians, creating new experiences for those people who exclusively have those NFTs that they're pushing. Again, the cost of minting, depending on which blockchains that you're on, for example, on Solana, it's extremely cheap. It could be even cheaper than actually printing physical tickets for an event, right? And so that also creates another huge opportunity. Mobile penetration on the continent is increasing, and so more and more people will be able to have their warm wallets and even cold wallets, and you can store. Jay-Z talks about it in his music. If he had bought some pieces of art, they would have been a lot more valuable in terms of investments. Now we have opportunity to have art in the form of NFTs, and young Africans can actually create. You're seeing the opportunities now with generative AI. You can now also start creating your NFTs and put it out there as a creative product and try to generate income from that. And so I think that's also a huge opportunity for young people on the African continent, because we are very creative and we are quick to adopt technologies.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mutembei. I think still on that topic, but this time to Dauglous, I'd like to know from you, how do you think NFTs can be used to empower individuals and communities in Africa, particularly in, let's bring it down to asset ownership and transfer of value?
Okay, thank you for the question. Personally, I've been keeping a logbook for a number of years, and if it happens that you lose your logbook for some reasons, you might be having issues just getting to get a new one for now. First of all, let me discuss about the ownership of NFTs. NFTs is a unique thing that is generated within the blockchain using different standards. That depends if you want to generate a large number of NFTs. Just for instance, owning Charity Center as a place. With this, you generate about 1,000 of them being owned by different people. We might also be able to be in a point that no single individual who makes a decision on a specific place to be owned at that time. So NFTs can be used in ownership in terms of if you have a piece of land, that for most of it, instance, as my panelist here said, buying a land in Nairobi or in other places is usually a nightmare. You might get even fake land. Just buying a land, you bought land that doesn't exist or is being owned by multiple people. Now, if you bring in the issue of the good issue of about owning a land of NFTs, being that it's unique, it will be able to solve that major issue of having multiple people owning a piece of property, for instance, land, and even to houses. And another thing is now being NFTs are also unique. A place like Charity Center can be able to be owned by a number of people, given you can be able to generate a number of NFTs marking to a specific place, given they are minted. If my panelist here, one of them can own 2 of them, others 20, others 50. So that now, if you have a voting mechanism of it, decision will be made by a number of people, not an individual owning or a specific organization owning these NFTs, owning these specific properties.
All right, thank you very much. I think that's the whole land issue, and with the businesses ownership. I think basically that's one thing NFT stands for, identity and ownership, where you know that, yes, this particular thing is yours. There's a friend of mine who has one artwork in his house. The artist who sold the artwork to him didn't just sell just the physical one. She did that one, and she also did an NFT, the digital format of it. So just in case maybe the normal physical one maybe gets destroyed or something, he knows that he has the NFT format of it. That's the digital format of that particular artwork. And I think that's something a lot of artists these days they are doing, that for people who are close by, and people would say, oh yes, they still want the real thing, to know if it's real, the physical artwork. While they have the old digital one, which they can always take about everywhere. They will show people, oh, I have this, this is my NFT that I got, and they also have that physical one which they can just put in their bedroom or in their sitting room to show people that, yes, it is the real one, it is the original one, and there is no fake one of it. Because of the whole certificate thing that NFT attaches to each property, each should I say, each token, each digital asset, like in as much as it's an NFT, it has a specific certificate. Because I think that's one thing people really do not understand about NFT. Like, how do you know that this thing is real? But something you should understand is that for every NFT that you get, in as much as it's minted in the blockchain or on the blockchain, it has your own like details, that particular wallet or whatever it is that you used to mint it. It has that particular identity for you, like that shows that yes, you are the owner of this specific NFT. And bringing it down to like the customer intelligence industry, Mutembei, I'd like to know from you, how do you see NFTs revolutionizing this industry in Africa?
Sorry, that was...
Like, how do you see NFTs revolutionizing the customer intelligence industry in Africa?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning, right, in terms of the, most of commerce in Africa is actually now happening. Not most of it. Most of it is still like off-chain, going to your mom and pop shop on the side. But increasingly, we are having more and more of digital commerce happening, and most of it is actually happening decentralized. What is happening globally is like, what has been happening for a long time is like you have the Amazons, which are very centralized platforms where people come in, they do their commerce. But now in Africa, what we're seeing, and a lot of the emerging markets, is it's mostly decentralized. Most people are doing they're selling on Instagram, on TikTok, on WhatsApp, on these different platforms. And a lot of these merchants have actually become creators, when they're putting up their tools, their goods out there. And so where NFTs can actually now can work is because a lot of this commerce is happening on mobile. A lot of the people who have the mobile phones that are engaging as customers with these organizations, there's been a big challenge of having that customer engagement between the merchant and the customer. So there's a huge opportunity there for how, especially dynamic, programmable NFTs can be used with these different customers, right? You have different scenarios where, you have a customer and you're trying, I don't know, a lot of you who've been here in Kenya for the last couple of years know about Nakumat. Nakumat had this card that it was your loyalty card, and I'm sure a lot of countries you have loyalty cards, and half the time you maybe even forget it the next time you come to the store. But right now, since most people actually have their mobile phones, whenever you're interacting with your Instagram shop there, you could just be sent a QR code where you read it and take in some off-chain data onto your NFT, and then you collect points for your particular business, and then the business has intelligence about you every time you're interacting with them and could continue rewarding you. So I believe there's a lot of opportunities in that particular sector on the continent, as well as a lot of young people on the continent just creating their own NFTs and selling them and using them as ways for example, if there are a lot of creative young people coming up with fashion brands across the continent, right? Yeah. So how can they be able to use NFTs to create a following, to reward their community who are wearing their particular fashion brand? You see this happening with Louis Vuitton and with the other global fashion brands. Why can't it happen with African tailors and creatives in the fashion industry? So these are huge opportunities where a lot of consumer insight can come off chain onto chain, and you can always be able to track, have transparency about even the supply chain. Right, everybody is now talking about ethical fashion globally. This is also something else that can be used to create opportunities on the continent to make sure that, hey, this cotton was sourced sustainably from, let's say a farm in Kenya or in Uganda, and so what you're wearing is actually authentic because it's authenticated by the NFT attached to that particular real-world asset. So I see a lot of those opportunities in terms of collecting that customer data, taking it on-chain, and having that traceability for everything within the supply chain as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mutembei. To Jessica, I'd like to know from you, with the rise of NFTs and their potential for new forms of digital ownership and scarcity, what do you think the future holds for traditional finance systems in Africa?
Well, for the traditional finance systems in Africa, I think I just want to comment about what the panelists said earlier, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I've created NFTs on my site. You can actually go and buy them right now, right? We're talking about very hypothetical situations. If you have a MetaMask wallet or a Coinbase wallet or anything, go to jessicacolasso.com and you'll see NFTs available there. How many have bought NFTs before? Show of hands. So, right there, it's a testament of you buying my NFTs is promoting me as an artist locally, and to show the example that it's not really about a piece of land. It's to show that the creative economy can thrive with technology if we collaborate with each other. So let's make concepts actionable, right? Yeah. It's about getting stuff done. But back to the question my colleague asked is like, how do we make NFTs applicable to the traditional finance system? Now, there are a lot of, there's the rise of what you call neobanks, and the neobanks are building what you call wallets. And there's a lot of like different kinds of wallets that exist that you can actually trade different crypto to fiat. So I feel like traditional finance institutions, and we're talking about more of like banks partnering with startups, have an opportunity to come into the DeFi space and actually have fiat currency trading in the background with crypto exchange platforms in the background, and transactions actually ongoing through M-Pesa transactions, P2P trading ongoing, where you can actually convert your fiat currency to crypto and actually buy any asset online, or fiat or crypto to fiat, and actually do any transaction online to buy like clothes, accessories, fashion, e-commerce. So I feel like the rise of neobanks, and there's a fintech company that's actually here. They're called Fingo. They've actually partnered with EcoBank to actually create a wallet whereby the youth can actually start transacting in different ways, and they're exploring partnering with crypto partners in the background as exchange platform partners, where you won't even know you're actually trading with crypto. So I feel like the first thing is like the introduction. We won't even mention chains here, coming online, off chain, on chain. It's a bit technical, but I think the wallets are the most low hanging fruits right now to trade fiat to crypto and crypto to fiat right now, and purchase e-commerce accessories online.
All right, thank you very much. So to wrap up this session, I'd like to know from our three panelists, starting from Dauglous, like, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs and investors as well as innovators in Africa who are looking to get into the NFT space and make an impact in this new industry?
Okay, thank you. The first one, I can say like blockchain and the NFT, all those things, they are a bit technical. As an entrepreneur, you learning and educating yourself will be very important for you at that time, and also partner with relevant companies and organizations that may improve or whatever you're trying to do, ideate and brainstorm, then later innovate on the same. The other thing, think of a problem in Africa. We have a number of problems, of which even if I start stating today, from identity, from ownership of properties, and also other things like services, giving good service to our clients or our customers at that time. That is just to mention a few of them. Identify a problem and a solution, give a solution to it. And the blockchain and the NFTs as a whole, the major thing that we have today is like you cannot tell someone seated in rural area, yes, you need to download MetaMask or a specific wallet to go and buy a specific asset. So to myself, of what I always think, I usually think about our users. create a very innovative user experience to our users. So that now you can be able to impress and see how, because most of the times the user experience created are mostly viable for our techies. So most of the guys, if you see the guys who own NFTs or specific assets, most of them are techies or relatives to techies or friends to techies. So make sure that now you innovatively create a very good user interface for your user experience, UI, UX for your experience, for your users, so that now they can easily be able to use that innovative idea that you already have. And the other thing is make sure you follow the regulations depending on your designated country or area or location at that time. From yesterday's conversation you had, like, treat the regulatories as your customers and understand whatsoever they may be able to tell you in the same. And above all, be educative, educating our fellows on the same of this blockchain, so that now we may make easy for the regulatory bodies to be able to regulate this specific thing that we are praising and preaching about.
Thank you very much. So Mutembei, please.
Yes, it's been a pleasure being on the panel with, just great minds. I would say my advice to young people on the continent, if you want to do something in this space, in the Web3 space, is that this is actually the right time, because for a lot of things, I think Africa, like Web1, Web2, Africa sort of was lost. Like we were not able to catch up in any of these spaces. But I think Web3 creates an opportunity where it's nascent, people are still figuring things out. And right now, because we're connected to the internet, we are connected to a lot of education material, is just really focus on learning and build. Personally, on our side, like as a startup, as Fastagger, right? I remember, back, I think it's in 2019, downloading courses on like, learning how to code on Solidity. It was hard. But then also, like, for those period of years, everybody thought we were crazy, right? You go and talk to someone and you're saying Web3 or blockchain, they're like, okay, you're crazy. All the VCs sort of kicked us out. But because we really believed in, the sort of freedom that Web3 and blockchain that can create, is, we weren't able to find any investors here, but there was someone in Switzerland who was actually willing to invest in us, because they've had this experience for a long time. Ethereum, Solana, all these foundations are actually based in Zug, and that's where we were able to find our investors. So it doesn't matter what other people are telling you, but if you really believe in like the freedoms that can be created in the world, that can be created in this new iteration of the internet, just stick with it. You'll find supporters. It might take a while, and then after, like for example, right now everybody is freaking out about the current downturn in the market, but half the people on our investment committee for our investor CVVC out of Zug, they've been through the cycles. Right, they lost crazy amount of money in the last 2 cycles, and so right now they're not phased. But everybody else is freaked out here in Kenya. But 5 years down the line, another 10 years down the line, this will be the main thing. The new neobanks are getting into it. All your interactions right now, all the kids Gen Z is on Roblox. All those are digital assets that they're going to be interacting with. The new generation and the new generations that come in the future will all be working with digital assets. So if we don't build the companies on the continent right now that are solving those issues and creating platforms and opportunities there, we'll also be left behind. So I'd say build, and build as much as possible. You will find the supporters the same way we did.
Thank you very much. To Jessica.
I think my answer is actually twofold. I got into the NFT space a little over, it's almost a year right now. And as Mutembei explained earlier, NFT just means non-fungible token, right?
Non-fungible tokens.
It's an asset that you can actually own, proof of ownership.
Yes.
It's not something that you can just, because it's a buzzword, and still is a buzzword, you get excited, you go to OpenSea or Rarible or other platforms, and then you have your asset like art or music, and you just start minting. You really have to understand what the value add is and how you price your NFT. So locally, what I did is I actually did research of communities who are actually minting NFTs in the creative space, and I came across a group called Bogia NFT. And they have very interesting Twitter spaces on Mondays and Tuesdays, Bogi Ya NFT. And they've been very open in actually educating me. One of their members actually took me through like how to mint NFTs on Rarible and OpenSea and what the gas fees are, the type of accessories and features like you have to put on your music. So it took me like a couple of months to release the next second NFT. So one is if you're getting, if entrepreneurs and innovators and creatives are getting into the NFT space, do your research, be part of a community that can actually guide you into the space, support each other. I'm an artist who has created NFTs in the space, so I've had people support me, my fans. It would be great if entrepreneurs here can support me in buying my NFTs, jessicacolasso.com. You'll find my NFTs there. And then NFT is not all about making money as well. Yes. It's about creating something of value online that others feel it's of value. And to entrepreneurs out here, don't get excited and go start creating NFT marketplaces because they do exist and you're competing with global giants like OpenSea and Rarible. So do your homework before getting excited about opening an NFT marketplace. So there are different use cases for NFTs. Do your research again. There's a creative space, there's the real estate space, there's the agri-tech space, there's the energy space. So do your research on what you want to play in when it comes to the NFT space in Africa.
Thank you very much, Jessica, and thank you very much to our three panelists. My key takeaway from the session is you should know and understand that NFT is all about ownership, it's all about identity, and it's also about access. Like, I think there's a restaurant in the US that if you need to have exclusive access to certain parts of the menu, there's a particular NFT that you must own that it's specifically for that restaurant. So if you have like that specific NFT, you have access to like the bigger parts of their menu. And there was a time sometime, I think 2020 or early 2021, I can't recall the exact date, where there was a sort of like a boat cruise that Elon and a couple of other people, like they went on. And people who had access to go on that cruise were people who still held a specific type of NFT. Now, just imagine like, this is me over here, I've never met Elon before, but imagine if I had that NFT, meaning I actually had the access to be one of those who could actually go on that trip with him and a couple of other people. So you see that even aside business where people just think they want to come and buy and sell NFT, like you could use it as a form of identity and you can actually use it to access certain groups of people. So like we should now educate ourselves more, read more about it, like the panelists said. Like, let's know how, from our own perspective or from our own business, we can now leverage on this technology to build a sustainable future for ourselves and also give us, like, grow more in the space. So thank you very much once again, our three wonderful panelists, and I hope everyone had a wonderful time and they were able to learn a thing or two from this session. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.